This episode of Movie Night is brought to you by Netflix. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at netflix.com/jogwheel.
Score tie 4-4. The next goal will decide the championship.
Come on, Docs, move that puck! You think the Hawks are easy? Wait until we play the Soviet Union's Pee Wee team. This is Movie Night. Hello and welcome to Movie Night, YouTube's most viewed movie review show. I'm your host, Jonathan Paula. Tonight, in the first of our special summer episodes, I'll be reviewing 3 classic hockey films in celebration of the NHL's annual Stanley Cup Championship going on this week between the Chicago Blackhawks and my hometown Boston Bruins. We'll begin with the movie Slapshot. Released in February of 1977, this comedy film directed by George Roy Hill grossed almost $30 million at the box office and depicts the story of a minor league hockey team that resorts to violence and fights to help bolster their waning popularity in a struggling mill town. Far too handsome to actually be a hockey player, the timelessly talented Paul Newman leads the cast of misfit rejects and quirky characters, whose bygone vernacular is often offensive and crude, but undeniably funny. When one character rudely tells Newman he can go suck dick, the charming leading man smugly retorts, "All I can get." Which is perhaps why the salad dressing salesman also stated that this is his personal favorite of his many movies. The R-rated story develops rather slowly over its 123-minute runtime, and no real plot is established until the halfway mark, but despite the poor pacing, it's still entertaining.
Henry! Suzanne sucks pussy! What's behind the net? Hey, Henry! She's a dyke! I know! Go on! Take it out! She's a lesbian! Son of a bitch!
Perhaps due to the film's age and style, I was initially bored and unimpressed with the film that so many have called one of the best sports movies ever. But the more I thought about it, the more I enjoyed the goofy humor, original characters, and believable performances. Featuring more fistfights and high sticking than actual puck slinging, the rowdy team even takes their punches into the stands during one crazy and hectic moment. The visual style, costumes, and music are all instant throwbacks to a different era, and watching this movie today plays out like a sort of 1970s time capsule. Between all of the shouting and improvised antics, some of the dialogue can be difficult to hear, and although amusing, it's doubtful I'll be compelled to watch this picture again. Capping off the raunchy proceedings with a bizarre and non-traditional ending, this is, however, a great guy flick, especially for hockey fans. Slapshot. Juvenile antics provide fleeting enjoyment. Now let's bring in the Rate-O-Matic for my score. A good. While I understand and appreciate why many hockey fans hold this film in such high regard, I for one wasn't as impressed by it. Paul Newman is always great to watch, but otherwise I have to score it a 6. Tonight's poll question is an obvious one. What's your favorite sports movie? Leave your response as a comment below. Our next hockey film tonight is The Mighty Ducks. This family-friendly sports comedy film by director Stephen Herek was released in October of 1992 and became a big hit, earning 5 times its $10 million budget, spawned 2 sequels, a cartoon show, and even a professional hockey team sharing its namesake. Emilio Estevez stars in perhaps his most iconic role, as a showboating defense attorney forced to coach a ragtag group of inner-city kids at Pee Wee hockey. The story is quickly established via simplified dialogue and an overtly formulaic flashback prologue, all of it sharing parallels to other sports films, especially its football counterpart, The Little Giants. The eclectic gang of Minnesota children features many familiar child actors, including Danny Tamborelli from Pete and Pete fame, and Joshua Jackson, future Dawson's Creek and Fringe star, in a more prominent role. In fact, Jackson plays matchmaker to his mom Ann Estevez in an extremely hurried romantic subplot. The Ducks' chemistry is playful and authentic, making it easy to root for them to succeed, especially when we're introduced to the unrealistically evil and exaggerated opposing head coach, played by Lane Smith, who tells his team, "It's not worth winning if you can't win big." Normally, sports announcers wouldn't exist at the Pee Wee level, but their curious inclusion allows them to serve up plenty of exposition, making the consequences of the games even easier to follow. At 100 minutes, it's a well-paced and lighthearted film that never gets boring or uninteresting. The score by David Newman is low-key and innocuous, eventually making way for a musical montage to Marky Mark's Good Vibrations 80s classic, as the team causes havoc by rollerblading through a shopping mall. Emilio's deadpan persona is a humorous counter to the kids' slapstick tomfoolery, making for an amusing film but rarely a laugh-out-loud one.
can you be? They're killing us out there. How many times do I have to tell you? Get those rebounds. Get your heads up. Get those loose pucks. Just get the hell out of here.
This PG-rated sports adventure contains no surprises, and is predictable to a fault, but it's harmless entertainment that all families and hockey fans can enjoy again and again. The Mighty Ducks, simplistic hockey fun for kids. Here's a Rate-O-Matic with my score, a 7. This is your quintessential Disney sports movie, the quirky good guys against the underdeveloped bad guys in the most basic and thrilling of sports scenarios. Nothing outright exciting or original here, but there aren't any missteps either. I thought it was cool. Finally tonight, another Disney film, Miracle. More than doubling its $28 million budget, this biographical sports drama was released on February 6, 2004. And fun fact, this was the first film I ever officially reviewed, way back on my high school movie review show. Opening with a 3-minute credits montage that serves as a history lesson on the Cold War, this leisurely paced 135-minute story chronicles the unbelievable true story of the 1980 U.S. Olympic men's ice hockey team, on their arduous journey to defeat the mighty Soviet Union, undefeated for 20 years. Kurt Russell stars as famed hockey coach Herb Brooks, whose no-nonsense approach makes him a tough character to relate to, but he does a fine job in the role, sporting a Minnesota accent and period-accurate hair and plaid clothing. Believing the professional all-stars system to be flawed, Russell recruits a band of amateur players, defending his curious selection by stating, "I'm not looking for the best players, I'm looking for the right ones." Much like their off-screen counterparts, these players are portrayed by amateur actors, many starting in their first film role, primarily chosen for their skating ability rather than their acting chops. But that being said, the gentrified group of 20-somethings do a great job with the excellent writing, portraying the realistic characters with ease. Director Gavin O'Connor uses commanding close-ups and wide shots to vividly tell an intimate drama mixed with a furious sports epic. The 70s-era soundtrack features classic background tracks from the Jay Giles Band, the Blue Oyster Cult, and Aerosmith, perfectly setting the mood and atmosphere for every scene. One particularly powerful sequence has the unrelenting and punishing coach pushing his team long past the breaking point in an emotional montage until one of them finally stands up to him.
Everybody get on that line. Again. Herb. Come on, Craig, blow the whistle. Again.
Michael Ruzioni!
Who do you play for?
I play for the United States of America!
That's all, gentlemen.
The PG-rated drama features quick glimpses of a Cold War brewing behind the scenes, heightening the consequences of the big US-Soviet medal match that much more. Unfortunately though, aside from a few throwaway lines of dialogue, very little of the Russian team is explored. In fact, not a single one of their players ever utters a line of dialogue, making the constant USA chant during the film's ferocious climax a bit one-sided. That said, if you're an American, it's impossible not to feel pride during the film's final moments, depicting the so-called Miracle on Ice, perhaps the most important and memorable event in Olympic history. Faithfully accurate to the actual games it meticulously recreates, even iconic sports broadcaster Al Michaels appears as himself, having re-recorded all of his original commentary for the movie. A rarity among sports films in that it meshes conflicted characters, a great story arc, and well-shot, brilliantly executed play of the game itself. This is an emotional, dramatic, and undeniably fascinating picture that easily transcends the usually limited genre of sports films, one that is equally rewarding on multiple viewings. Miracle, a compelling and inspirational hockey drama. Here's my rating, a 9. A film I still remember fondly 9.5 years after first watching it, I was able to appreciate this picture's accomplishments in the technical and acting categories even more upon rewatching it earlier this week. A fun, exciting, thrilling, and memorable adventure, I have to score this an awesome. Finally tonight, let's see what you're saying about films currently playing in theaters with some tweet critiques. If you see a new movie in theaters, tweet your review with the JPMN hashtag if it featured on the show. And be sure to follow me on Twitter or Facebook for updates between shows and to help decide upcoming reviews. Earlier this week, I posted my thoughts on the new Hobbit trailer, so keep an eye on the Movie Night Archive channel for more exclusive trailer commentaries and an organized library of all our past reviews. Once again, my name is Jonathan Paula. Thank you for watching Movie Night. I hope to see you right back here for the next episode.